All right, I need you to stop everything you are doing and really be present for this conversation, because what I am about to share with you is something I have been wanting to say for a very long time, something I have watched men completely miss over and over again in my years of practice and in my years of simply paying attention to how human beings connect with each other. This is for the men who are 60 and beyond, the men who look in the mirror sometimes and wonder whether their season of being truly magnetically deeply attractive to women has passed. The men who have been told by culture, by advertising, by the relentless worship of youth that surrounds us, that desire and desirability are things that belong to the young. I am here to tell you that is one of the most damaging, most wrong, most wasteful lies that has ever been handed to men. And I am not saying this to make you feel good. I say it because the psychology of female attraction, real female attraction, not the surface level stuff, not the movie poster version, actually tells a completely different story. A story that most men over 60 are sitting on top of like treasure they have no idea they are holding while they spend their energy worrying about the wrong things entirely. So let us talk about what women actually respond to. Let us go past the cultural noise and get to the psychology, the real deep, biologically and emotionally grounded psychology of what makes a woman not just notice a man, but feel genuinely, helplessly drawn to him, because I promise you, it is not what most men think it is. And once you see it clearly, once you really understand what you have and how profoundly you are underusing it, everything is going to shift. Let me start with something that the research on female attraction makes very clear, and that almost nobody talks about directly. Women are not primarily attracted to what a man looks like. I know that sounds obvious when I say it, but I want you to really sit with the implication of it, because most men still operate as if physical appearance is the primary currency of attractiveness. They worry about their gray hair, their changed body, the lines on their face. They compare themselves to younger men and feel like they are losing a competition, but that competition is not the one women are actually running. What women are primarily attracted to, what activates the deep, sustained, almost involuntary pull that we are talking about when we use the word irresistible, is a combination of internal qualities that are almost impossible to fake and that crucially tend to develop and deepen with age in men who have been paying attention to their own growth. We are talking about presence, purpose, emotional groundedness, the particular kind of confidence that comes not from never having failed, but from having failed and rebuilt and come out the other side knowing something real about yourself. These are not things you can buy or perform. They are things you earn through living. And a man who is over 60 and has actually engaged with his own life, who has not been sleepwalking, who has loved and lost and learned, who has built something and broken something and figured out what actually matters, that man is carrying something extraordinarily attractive that most men his age are completely wasting. The first thing that women over a wide range of ages find irresistible in men over 60 is what I call embodied certainty. And I want to be very precise about what I mean by that, because it is different from arrogance, and it is different from the brittle, defensive confidence of a man who needs to be right all the time to feel okay about himself. Embodied certainty is something quieter and far more powerful than that. It is the quality of a man who has lived enough to know what he believes, what he values, what he will and will not accept, and who carries those convictions in his body rather than performing them for an audience. You can feel this quality when you encounter it. It is in the way a man walks into a room, not with a strut, not with a performance of ease, but with a genuine, settled, unhurried quality that says, I know who I am, and I am comfortable here. It is in the way he speaks, slowly enough to be heard with the quiet authority of a man who is not rushing to fill silence because he is not afraid of it. It is in the way he listens, actually listens, not waiting for his turn to talk, not scanning the room for someone more important, but genuinely present to the person in front of him. It is in the way he makes decisions without the anxious second-guessing of a man who is still trying to figure out who he is supposed to be. From a neurobiological standpoint, this quality of embodied certainty does something specific to a woman's nervous system. Her stress response, the constant background surveillance system that is always assessing whether a situation is safe, quiets down. And when that system quiets down, when a woman's nervous system registers that she is in the presence of someone whose internal world is genuinely stable, what rushes in to replace the vigilance is openness, warmth, curiosity, the particular kind of physical ease that is the precondition for genuine attraction. Her body relaxes, and a woman whose body has relaxed in your presence is a woman who is already on some level drawn to you. But here is where men over 60 are wasting this extraordinary asset. Most of them are either hiding it or performing a younger version of themselves instead of inhabiting the full, seasoned, complex person they have actually become. They are apologizing for their age. They are trying to keep up with cultural references they do not care about to seem relevant. They are pursuing women in ways that were appropriate at 35, but feel slightly off at 65. Not because the desire is wrong, but because the strategy has not evolved to match who they have actually become. They are competing on youth's terms and then wondering why they feel like they are losing. Stop competing on youth's terms. You are not a younger man with more mileage. You are something categorically different. You are a man who has been through enough to have a perspective on life that cannot be replicated by someone who has simply had less time. That perspective, when you wear it fully and without apology, when you stop trying to minimize or hide the parts of you that are unmistakably seasoned, is one of the most genuinely attractive things a human being can possess. The second thing that women find irresistible in men over 60, and I want to speak specifically to the women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s themselves, because they are often the ones most attuned to this quality, is emotional availability, real emotional availability, not the performance of it, not the man who says all the right things about feelings, but disappears the moment actual emotional depth is required, but the genuine, hard-won, deeply attractive, emotional availability of a man who has done enough living to understand that feelings are not the enemy, that vulnerability is not weakness, that the ability to say what is actually true inside you, to name what you feel without turning it into armor or anger or deflection, is one of the most sophisticated and powerful things a man can develop. Now, I know that for many men, particularly men who grew up in a culture that equated emotional expression with weakness, this is complicated territory. I am not dismissing the reality of what many men were taught. I am saying that what they were taught was wrong, and that the cost of that wrongness in loneliness, in disconnection, in the particular sadness of being surrounded by people who do not really know you because you have never let them, is very high. And I am saying that the men who have done the work of unlearning it, who have allowed life's difficulties to crack them open rather than close them down, who have learned through therapy, through loss, through honest relationship, through whatever path got them there, to be genuinely present to their own inner life, those men are genuinely rare, and women feel that rarity immediately. Emotional availability in a man over 60 looks like this. He can talk about his life, including the parts that did not go the way he planned, without bitterness. He can acknowledge what he got wrong in past relationships without either defensive justification or self-flagellating collapse. He can be curious about a woman's inner life without needing to fix everything she shares or redirect the conversation back to himself. He can express appreciation, genuine, specific appreciation for who she is, not just what she looks like or what she does for him. He can sit in the complexity of real intimacy without needing everything to be simple or resolved. He can be moved by things, music, beauty, the weight of loss, the particular grace of a moment, and let himself be moved without shame. That man, the man who carries his emotional life with dignity and openness, is the man women in the second half of their own lives are aching for. Not performing sensitivity, not managing a woman's emotions strategically, but genuinely, humanly, beautifully present to the full experience of being alive and being in connection with another person. That is the thing that most men over 60 are sitting on top of, having been hammered into shape by decades of experience and either not recognizing it as the gift it is or actively hiding it because no one ever told them it was valuable. It is extraordinarily valuable. I am telling you now, use it. The third quality is what I call purposeful living, and this one is perhaps the most quietly magnetic of all. A man over 60 who is genuinely engaged with his own life, who has something he cares about that is bigger than himself, who wakes up with a reason that has nothing to do with obligation or habit and everything to do with genuine meaning, who is still curious about the world, still learning, still building something, whether that something is a business, a garden, a relationship with his grandchildren, a creative practice, a community, a cause. A man who is alive to his own life, who has not checked out, who has not decided that the interesting part is over. This quality does something very specific to female psychology that I want to name clearly. A woman, and again, particularly a woman who has done her own work, who has built her own life, who is not looking for someone to complete her, but for someone genuinely interesting to connect with, is not attracted to a man who needs her to give him a reason to be here. She is attracted to a man who already has a reason to be here and who invites her to be part of what he is building. There is an enormous difference between those two dynamics. One is weight, the other is warmth. When a man has genuine purpose, when his days are structured around something he cares about, when he has developed skills and interests and passions that are his own, he brings something to the table that has nothing to do with his age or his appearance or his bank account. He brings aliveness, and aliveness, genuine aliveness, is one of the most attractive things in the world. It is contagious. It is inspiring. It creates in the people around him the particular pleasure of being near someone who is fully engaged with being alive. And women who are awake to their own experience, are drawn to that energy like nothing else. I want to say something to the men who are reading this and thinking, but I am retired, or my children are grown, or the thing that used to give me purpose is gone. I hear that. And I want to say clearly, this is one of the most dangerous moments of a man's life, not physically, but psychologically. The loss of external structure and role identity can leave a man adrift in ways that are genuinely painful, and that, if not addressed intentionally, can lead to a kind of quiet disappearance from your own life. And that disappearance, that slow withdrawal from engagement, curiosity, and purpose, is what women sense and respond to with sadness rather than attraction. The answer is not to pretend you are not in transition. The answer is to treat this season of your life with the same seriousness and intentionality that you brought to building your career or raising your family. What do you actually care about now? Not what you are supposed to care about. Not what you cared about at 40. What calls to you now? In this particular body, with this particular history, at this particular moment. Find that. Follow it. Build your days around it. Because a man who is genuinely alive to his own purpose at any age, and perhaps most beautifully at 60 and beyond, is a man who cannot be ignored. The fourth quality, and this one I want to speak about with the particular directness that I bring to everything I care about, is physical vitality, not youth, not a perfect body, vitality. There is a profound difference, and it is one that most men completely miss when they are comparing themselves to younger men and feeling like they have already lost. Physical vitality at 60 plus is not about having the body of a 30-year-old. It is about inhabiting whatever body you have with full engagement. It is about moving not to look a certain way, but because your body is meant to move, and movement is how you stay connected to being alive. It is about the energy in your eyes, the way you carry yourself, the quality of your handshake and your posture and your gait. It is about whether you smell like someone who takes care of himself, whether your clothes are clean and fit properly and reflect a man who respects himself enough to present himself well, whether you are rested and well-nourished and genuinely engaged with the experience of being in a body. Women are deeply attuned to vitality. The men who have learned through experience and reflection and genuine interest in their partner's experience that intimacy is about presence rather than performance, about communication rather than assumption, about genuine curiosity about another person's pleasure rather than a script they are trying to execute. Those men are extraordinary lovers, not despite their age, partly because of it, because what age gives you, if you have been paying attention, is patience. The unhurried quality of a man who is not rushing to get somewhere because he has learned that the journey is the point. The generosity of someone who has been loved and lost enough to know that real connection is rare and worth savoring. The particular attentiveness of a person who has had enough experience to know that every person is different, that assumptions are dangerous, that listening, really listening, with your whole self is the most intimate thing you can do. And now I want to bring all of this together, because individually, each of these qualities is significant, but together they create something that is genuinely extraordinary and genuinely rare. A man over 60 who carries embodied certainty. They may not be able to articulate exactly what they are responding to, but their bodies are picking up on an enormous amount of nonverbal information in the first moments of encountering someone. And a man who is physically vital, who moves through the world with energy and engagement, who has taken the time and care to maintain his health and his physical presence, who is clearly alive inside his body rather than simply occupying it, registers as attractive in a way that transcends conventional ideas about age or appearance. And I want to say something about sexuality specifically because we are adults, and this is a real dimension of this conversation. Sexual vitality in a man over 60 is not about performance metrics or comparison to how things were at 30. It is about presence, about attentiveness, about the particular capacity for unhurried, genuinely engaged intimacy that men in the second half of life can develop. Stop treating sex as a performance and start treating it as a connection.